Well,
Wow.
let's move on. Let's talk about Civil War. This is the big one. Chris and I actually saw it on Monday, right before heading out to Las Vegas. Um, so I'll give you the quick one. There is a civil war raging in America. The forces of Texas and California have invaded Washington D.C. And the movie takes place kind of at the tail end of the Civil War. One side is about to win, and um, and in this film we follow four journalists, mostly photojournalists, played by Kirsten Dunst, who plays Lee, Wagner Moura, who plays Joel, Kaylee Spani as Jesse, and Stephen McKinley Henderson as Sammy. They're just four intrepid reporters. I believe Lee works for Reuters. And their goal is to go into Washington, D.C., to the Capitol, and interview the president, who has made a final declaration that America is about to win this war, and that they want to interview the president. But the problem is, to get in there, they have to embed themselves. They have to fight through the battle, the war that's going on, and they meet people along the way who are friends and who are foes. They have a little adventure, and then the whole movie culminates with them getting to the president. Um, I will say this: this movie, the movie is very mixed in terms of overall reaction. My personal reaction is I like this movie. Uh, I like it a lot. Part of it is, you know, when the trailers came out, I think we were surmising that this is just going to be some kind of woke garbage. It's not. In fact, the movie goes out of its way to not take a side. There are two sides in this war. You can't necessarily pin one party to one side and another party to the other side. In fact, if you were to assign a party to one side or the other, this would be a very different film because you would interpret things that happen in the film very differently. Um, the criticism also is that it doesn't guide you to the idea that who's good, who's bad. You know, whose side would you be on if you were in this conflict? There's no indication that they're wanting you to take a side because both sides do equally horrendous things. Um, to me, what Alex Garland did with this movie was to present what an American Civil War would look like, um, and to put you in that war and to make you question who's doing the right thing or make you question what side do you think you'd be on. It's a movie that presents a story and asks you as the audience to make decisions for yourself about what the story is about. And and honestly, I think that was a good choice because I think if this movie was political, we'd be having a far different discussion. And I think, and in that discussion, I think it would create a divide in a way that the movie is warning us about the divide that we're currently going through. And so I very much see this movie as more of a warning of the divide of the progression that this divide could take us to an actual civil war, and what that looks like. So to me, the best movies are the ones that you watch, whether you hate it or like it. You talk about it, and I think that's what this movie is going to do. It's going to have us talking about it. Paulie, what did you think of Civil War?
Well, so much. I mean, first of all, I think it's a riveting road trip movie.
Mm-hmm.
The marketing was very deceptive. This is not a war movie, a battle movie. It's about battles and sides, where, it is about four journalists, photojournalists and print journalists on a road trip to go and, like you said, interview the president, and what they encounter, but also the what's riveting is how they talk about the juice, why they're photojournalists, why they're in the
Mm-hmm.
embedded. I found that stuff just amazing,
Yeah.
and I was not expecting that, and so with that, I found the ending to be completely satisfying as a
Mm-hmm.
a as as a film goer, as cinema and in being entertained, not as a political this is such an important film on our times. That's garbage. You can always say that, My thing is, how is this film going to stand 5, 10 years down the line? Sort of the films like uh, um, Salvador, or what's the Gene Hackman? There's a Gene Hackman, Nick Nolte one. They talked about the juice. I mean, and they use those backdrops, and those
Hmm.
are very specific wars, civil wars in Latin America. But those were the backdrops. That was the backdrop. It was these four different people and what they were encountering together that I really just I bought it. I was in.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah. I mean, I saw it the same way you did in terms of it felt like Homer's Odyssey. It's
Hmm.
like you had these four journalists, and they just move from one small story to the next. They're not
Hmm.
necessarily connected, but they have this Civil War theme kind of looming overhead.
Hmm.
Um, like they go into a town that where everything seems normal, that nothing, that the Civil War, that everything outside of the city limits is not happening,
Hmm.
and they go in and they kind of look at how the people, you know, they just go into a clothes shop and try on dresses because they want to, because these journalists want to feel human again, and they question, well, how is it that you guys aren't affected by what's going on out there?
Hmm.
And I just remember it was kind of haunting where she says, because we just don't think about it.
Yeah.
That's out there. We're just going to live in the safety of our cocoon,
Hmm.
and I think we do that even today with the battles raging on social media. A lot of people just want to stay out of it, and
Yeah.
and to be honest, you can't blame them. You know, uh,
Again, I actually think you're doing a disservice if you come from this with seeing this film, if you're coming at it from a political social lens, from the
mhm,
left or right. Garland, if you've taught, you can dig around. It doesn't take too long. He says, no, I have my very personal opinions, but I leave it to open to interpretation. And he did that, and that's called entertainment. That was fantastic.
mhm,
A little thought provoking, riveting, great performances. But I say that because if you do come at this film from a really left or right lens, you're gonna hate the film.
mhm,
That's just it. You're gonna hate it. I get it. I get why people are hating it. I just didn't. I didn't see the film like that.
yeah,
And I was riveted with the actors, with Kirsten Dunst, which I don't particularly like her as an actor, and Wagner Moura, who played Pablo Escobar in Narcos. This man is an incredible talent, and what a great character. He's the James Woods in this film. And James Woods' character in
mhm,
Salvador was that
yeah,
adrenaline junkie, just madman, and then like
mhm,
womanizer. that was Joe, and all along we're seeing this new photojournalist played by the actress that played Priscilla. Forget her name. What a great
oh,
character.
Carol Spani,
What a
Spani,
great what a
yeah,
great arc. What a great character. And again, I was in because of these four strong actors.
mhm,
Yeah.
yeah, and I was in because of the questions that it posed.
Hmm.
The fact that it wasn't. I mean, honestly, I think if this movie did take sides and said that this side was Trump and this side was Biden, um,
Hmm.
I think I would have hated this movie because then I would feel like I was being lectured to one way or the other, and I think that's what we hate is movies telling us how to think, and I think that was the whole point. Think for
Hmm.
yourself. Watch this. Come up to your own conclusions. And I will say, um, I'm pretty sure I was with the FNT Yang yesterday at the meetup, and they have very different opinions about this movie, and I get it because I think the big complaint from them about the movie was that it was like they wanted to take a side. They wanted to be, they wanted because by taking a side, it felt like that there was a more cohesive story at that point because to me the story was a series of scenes, which is not exactly the greatest form of storytelling, but it can work. But in this case, there wasn't necessarily a through line that you were following, except for the adventure of these journalists. And as much as you were following that through line of the journalists, there was an overarching through line they wanted. Why, excuse me, why did the Civil War happen? You know, what was necessarily the plan to the ultimate plan uh, of the Civil War? You know, what was the outcome, the end goal of the Civil War? That's not in there. How it happened, not in there.
No.
And I think people really wanted that as some kind of foundation and grounding. But again, if you do that, if you say that this is why the Civil War happened, then it becomes political. Then it becomes that reason. And I believe that was it was intentional. I mean, I know for sure Alex Garland didn't want to do that. He didn't want to get specific, and I think that's probably the major weakness of this movie. You,
Uh, I can't say. Listen, I really enjoyed it.
mhm.
There
Yeah.
was there some scenes that were kind of like too on the nose. Sure, we could talk about it because it's the Jesse Plemons, which is that scene has been like really promoted heavily in all the
Yeah.
marketing materials and all that stuff. The marketing is, if anything, is really woke,
Hmm.
deceptive, garbage. Um, so, but again, I get why people hate it or
Hmm.
why they're disappointed because they wanted the film to pick a side,
Yeah.
and the side was with the photojournalist. It's that once you pick a side as a human, you're no longer doing your job, which is
Hmm.
to document what is going on and to
Hmm.
send that beacon back with your work. They just would never imagine that would be on their own soil. So that was a very interesting take because
Hmm.
unlike these other ones that have been done before, Under Fire and Salvador, they were always in a faraway land, signaling
Yeah.
the news to them. But there's a great line from Salvador, and I think it coincides with here, is that the closer we get to the story is the closer we get to the truth. We show
Hmm.
the truth, and that's what these guys are. You got that, but you get too close, you're going to perish, which is
Hmm.
in the film as well.
Yeah.
Listen, I was all in it for that.
Yeah. I mean, you bring up a great point because the Latin American civil wars, the you know the the communist takeovers or attempted communist takeovers of Central America. Those are stories that we know, but at the same time, these are stories that happened there. You know, thousands of miles, hundreds of or thousands of miles away. We were watching on television. What the haunting thing about this movie is that the Civil War is taking place in our own backyard. On roads and in cities that we know and
Mm-hmm.
we're comfortable with. And that Jesse Plemons scene comes up a lot because in the trailer you think you know what his motivation was because of course he's a white guy from the South, but you realize that that's not his motivation, but it was his actions that felt familiar. So the reason why wasn't what we thought it was. It was the atrocities that he was committing at that point. And to me that was the important thing. Or to me what felt like this movie was about was what people will do when they become so divided and resort to civil war. And that life you live, like for these journalists to drive down a road and see a car behind them and wonder, is this it? Are they gonna, are they dead? Going just driving down a road and have a sniper shoot at you. As weird as that scene was, he's trying to put you in that situation.
Great
You know,
scene.
yeah,
That was
it's
a
a
great
weird
scene
scene. It's a
because
weird setup, but
because
yeah,
because Joe Pedro Wagner's character Joe keeps asking the sniper, like, what side are you on? And he's like, you see that guy? He's trying to shoot me. I'm trying to shoot him.
yeah,
like what a
hmm,
stupid ass question in the moment,
yeah,
right? But it was great, because we want to know, like, oh, what side is this person on? Who's doing
hmm,
what? I think in thinking about it overnight, I would have liked to see uh, like Under Fire, like Salvador, you're going into a different country, Nicaragua and in Salvador. or Kosovo, or whatever those different movies
Mhm.
are, you're always getting international press
Yeah.
covering it. I would have loved at least one international character as part of the four, because even Wagner's character is Joe is I take it as a legal resident U.S.
Mhm.
citizen, right?
Yeah.
And there's that, we could talk about that later. But I would have loved to have seen a kind of Australian or an English, like
Mhm.
a for a an internet a foreign press person there, because
Mhm.
in Civil Wars you go and cover the news. The whole
Yeah.
world would have been there covering the news. I would have liked to have seen that character.
Yeah. Well, they kind of do that.
Well, but the
uh,
director, you mean?
no, no, those characters, uh, the international reporters.
I'm confused.
Oh no, that's all right. Because it would be a spoiler if I. It's going to be a spoiler if I keep
Oh,
talking
we'll do
about it.
spoilers in a minute, then
Yeah,
you'll explain it to me.
yeah, we'll do it. Okay. So, yeah. Oh, yeah. So, final
Oh,
thoughts
that's
on.
right. The
Yeah,
Japanese one at the end. Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
not
Well,
no.
we'll
Well,
wait.
okay.
We'll wait, bro.
Honestly,
This.
I'm not talking about that one either. Um, but yeah, I remember in high school, like my teacher would. I have a history teacher who showed us movies as part of the learning, and he was showing us a lot of these uh, anti-war
Mhm,
films, especially ones that depicted World War One. As and this is one of those that felt like it.
mhm.
That it was more about what was happening on the ground than it was about the bigger picture. And so that's I
Oh
like I
yeah.
said, but
I
the
mean,
movies. Yeah, go ahead.
when they did that, guys, they did that really well. In one of the montages with the four, they he- you know Wagner's character, the night before, sees the fire lights going on, all the battles, like, let's go, can we go? Kirsten's like, well, maybe in the morning if it's still going. Well, it's still
Hmm.
going, and they go and are part of this. They get embedded with the rebels, I guess, and you
Or
see,
was it the other side?
I don't know,
Yeah,
right? It does
exactly.
at that point. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna stop trying to figure out who's who. I'm paying
Hmm.
attention to these four, and you see, like, they just want to. Okay, can we get in a little cloud? Can we get that shot? Can we get that angle? Page and Wagner's pulling her back. I was like, oh my god!
Hmm.
And then they throw in that fantastic De La Soul "Say No Go," one of my favorite songs from De La Soul, and that was a riveting montage that ends in
Hmm.
we maybe they're the good guys or bad guys, but they assassinate who they capture. I was like, wow,
Yeah,
that was that
yeah.
was that was awesome.
So I'll end on this. I remember before the movie started, the lights were just about to go down. I'm
Hmm.
on X on my phone, and I see Grace Randolph. Her initial reactions to the movie, and she hated this movie. She was like, "There's a point where someone is on their knees surrendering, and they shoot the person." I don't want to say where that happens, but it was a very pivotal scene. And she was like, "You don't shoot unarmed people surrendering with their hands in the air." I think she's kind of thinking this is a, Black Lives Matter moment. And she just went off. And I grabbed the phone and I show it to Chris and I go, "I think we're gonna like this movie."
That's right. I remember you said that. Oh, that's incredible.
Yeah,
That's
and
incredible.
because
The best
it's
Black Lives Matter members are
yeah.
white gringas.
Yeah, but my point in all that is,
Uh,
for a movie like this, do you dare moralize? Do you dare, uh, you know, to criticize it for making choices that should naturally take place in this story? It just
mhm.
seems to me that that defeats the whole point of storytelling. That you've got to cross lines at times to make a point.
Or the atrocities of war. Absolutely.
Hmm.
Because what I did get is that both sides did some very fucked up things to each other.
Yeah,
That's what I got.
no, it's very clear, and you see it.
And that's all I need. And you do see it.
Hmm.
You
Yeah,
do see it. Ah, yeah. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, it's not until the final battle where you realize who's on what side. You know.
Correct. correct.
Yeah,
And that
and
was final battle was cinematically was absolutely just
yeah, yeah.
I
People are
was
describing it as Apocalypse Now. I kind of even like it to like Saving Private Ryan in terms of you are in the middle of the action, the way it's shot, the
mm-hmm,
sound design.
mm-hmm,
There's a moment in this movie. I think it's like right at the beginning of the movie. We were watching it in IMAX,
mm,
and the opening sequence sounded like it sounded like a sound test pattern for the theater to make sure that all the speakers were working.
mm,
And I say that because this movie immerses you visually and
mm-hmm.
through sound as well. So
Yeah.
as a piece of filmmaking, it is quite spectacular.
Well, that's
Um,
Alex Garland and his team, man. Those guys,
yeah.
he's got a
So what
great.
happened with Men? That's my question. What the hell was Men?
You know,
Did you?
I saw that trailer when it came out a few years ago. I said, I'm not seeing this movie.
Yeah,
So
that was.
yeah,
I
yeah,
again, that was another movie I just checked out of once it
yeah.
went off to Crazy Town.